I record this to the computer, but I don't do any editing. I just put titles in the front and the end and post it exactly how it comes out. So let's get started. Hey, my name is Jeff, and I'm here with my co-host, Selena Breeze, and we are doing a podcast. This is the 21st episode, and the podcast is called How It Works, and it's basically about recovery and how recovery works and how life works and the different avenues that we can take to improve our lives. And today, the special guests are Don and Kathy H. Don is my sponsor in one of the recovery fellowships I participate in, and Kathy is his wife, and they are both in recovery. And I've asked them here to share their story about, what brought them into recovery and how things have been working for them ever since they got involved. So thank you for joining us, Don, and then we have other guests here. So hello to the other guests.
That other guest there is a friend of mine, Michelle.
Great.
Yeah.
Hello, Michelle.
So Don and Kathy, how would you like to start us off? Tell us what got you into recovery.
Okay. Yeah, for me, actually, Kathy asked me. She had got back from Brighton, a recovery center, and she'd been going to meetings, and she asked me to go to a meeting. So I did. I wasn't sure what to expect. I kind of thought, well, I'll go to a few meetings, and I know Jeff's heard a lot of this already. I'd go to a few meetings, and then I'd be fine. I'd come home and say, yeah, I'm great and all that stuff. But the first meeting I went to, I really realized I was right where I needed to be. So that worked really well for me, and then I continued on from there. How about you, Kat?
Well, hi everyone. My name is Kathy. I'm an alcoholic addict. Recovery, that wasn't something that I was really keen on at first. I went out to Brighton, not because I wanted to, because with the fact that I needed to do something, and Don encouraged me that maybe I needed to do that. So that's what I did, and that's where I became introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, and not realizing how it would impact my life and how it would change my life for the better. And so, as time goes on, you learn more and more all the time. And, it's a lot of, ups and downs, and, we have good times, have bad times, but that's life. I mean, it's dealing with life on life's terms, like we said, people, places, things, situations, facts of my life. So if you're not picking up that drink or drug, you got to find another option. And I thought, well, what the hell what am I going to do? That's what I used to do all the time. So, I mean, that seemed to solve everything, and it did for a while. And then, of course, things started happening, and I had no control. I never had any control, actually. But anyway, so I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, not really being interested in doing any kind of service work or being friends with anybody in the program. And now, obviously, all of that has changed, and I am engulfed. Alcoholics Anonymous has become my way of life. I didn't know that something would have such an impact on my life, and it has, and it continues to have an impact on my life. And I so blessed that I have it, and that I don't have to do it. I think that one thing that really hit home to me was that I didn't have to do it by myself. I could come into a room full of people, and even though they might be from different backgrounds or different stations in life, we all had the same goal, and that was to stay sober one day at a time. And that's what our basic premise is to stay one day at a time, stay sober one day at a time. And, we try to tell our newcomers that come in and they're anxious and they don't know what to expect. And sometimes it's best just to let them, do what they feel that they can do, and, go from there. But anyway, we try and let them know that they don't have to do this by themselves.
Yeah.
Which is the main thing. And that seemed to really help me. I know that I could reach out to anybody at any time. talk to them about what was going on in my life. And they would say, oh yeah, this is, it was either similar or the same thing. But anyway, it's nice to know that there's some place that I can come on a daily basis and, share experience, strength, and hope that, no matter what is happening in your life, a drink or a drug isn't going to make it better. Never did, never will. So that's what I go by every day. And I have, spirituality plays a big part in my sobriety, and, meditation and prayer. Those are things that keep me going as well. So I probably said too much.
No, you're doing great. We have to fill an hour, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
It's okay. I prepare with some questions because there's things that about your situation that I want the public to know, because from what I've seen, couples in therapy is actually kind of rare. So I want people to see the benefits of both parties being involved in recovery. And I wanted to ask, so you guys had been married for quite some time before the drinking and drugs became unmanageable, right? So how long were you married before it caught up to you?
40 years. I'm trying to think. So probably 42 years, because we're 52 now, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
yeah.
I wanted to add one thing, because you made a good point there. It's really important to realize, I think, for people who've struggled and have not been able to stay together with a partner, the only reason that is, it's not that you're a bad person, it's that you both have to want it. And we both wanted it. We were hungry for it. We just wanted to be happy again and figure out what we were both doing wrong to not make that happen. So I would say that to people, that if you know your partner is willing to work with you, or you think there's a chance that he or she is willing to work with you, that's a great thing, but it doesn't always work that way.
Don and I are members of a fellowship that deals with a different type of addiction, this addiction called codependency. Codependency in adult terms amounts to addicted to other people's problems. We are the fixers. We're the people who want to save people. We're the enablers. And, statistically, it's my understanding that for every one addict or alcoholic, there are 6 people who become codependent, enabling that person. So what was that like, realizing that you two had a set of conditions and problems that fed into her sickness, and how, what steps did you take to kind of detach and become your own person again?
Well, I think for me, what was important to me is that I realized I wasn't very happy. And I realized right away that it wasn't because of what other people did. It was because of what I was doing, living too much inside my brain, thinking negative thoughts, all those little stuff that we all do. But, I was an expert at it. And like you say, codependency is, it's trying to control everything outside yourself and thinking that's where you're going to get your results. And it's just the opposite. You got to take care of who you are, figure out who you are first. And that really appealed to me because I felt that a lot of things I did in my life was chameleon, my work, some of my friendships and stuff. I just fell into line with what was happening, and I realized I wasn't very comfortable. So when I saw the roadmap of Al-Anon, I told my sponsor right away I wanted to do step 4, and he said, "You're not ready," and he was right. But what I'm trying to say is that I wanted to figure out who I was so that I could do this the best way I could. And that really appealed to me too, because everybody kept telling me in the meetings, this is personal. This is something you have to do for yourself. Somebody else can't. We can give you guidance, but we can't work your program for you. You have to. So I bought all the books. I went to the meetings. I found a sponsor as soon as I could. So I was really hungry for it. I think that was on my side of it. And the funny thing about it is, I never realized it until my wife got ill, and she said, I think you need to go to Al-Anon, because she was getting better and I wasn't.
Right. So Kathy, this is great. I'm glad that you took it to there. What kind of behaviors did Don have that was that you felt that he needed to get involved in recovery? What kind of things?
Well, as he said, I think he really thought that he could fix me, and that I didn't need anything else. And then if I would just listen to him and listen to what he had to say and the things that us alcoholics don't like to be told what to do. And unfortunately, that's what was happening. And, we kind of like when somebody tells you what something to do or tells you what to do, you kind of put your brakes on and dig in even farther. So that's kind of how it was. And but once I was in therapy for the first 3 years of my sobriety. So that really helped me come out and realize that there was a lot of things that I needed to do, improve. There's always, thank God this program is a program of progress, not perfection, because I would have failed miserably. I was always such a perfectionist at my where I worked, and if I didn't, I was the one that would beat myself up more than anybody else. So, if sobriety is not smooth. There's a lot of ups and downs, and you think you're going along and things are going really well. And all of a sudden there's a bump in the road. And I kind of think that what happens in my case is that God is like tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Kathy, you think you got it? You don't. So listen up and pay more attention and keep your, as we say, take the cotton out of your mouth and put it in, or take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. And that way you can shut up and listen to what people have to say, because in all actuality, it's true. I just remember coming into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I would hear all these people say, well, this and this and this. And I thought to myself, you people don't know what the hell you're talking about. But I finally realized they did know what they were talking about. So that's when I, took the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth and started listening. And that really has helped quite a bit in my recovery. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I spent about 7 years in AA, in Al-Anon before I switched programs and got involved in AA. And one of the first things I learned in AA was the most important thing that I learned in recovery, and that's that resentments were killing me. And they don't cover that too much in Al-Anon. We deal a lot with just learning how to detach and take care of ourselves and mind our own business and things like that. And I think the Al-Anon inventory process is really thorough and helpful for codependency issues. But I had to, after I spent enough time in Al-Anon, I got honest enough to realize I am an alcoholic too, and it's unmanageable. And I spent a lot of years alcoholic thinking it was manageable. And, when Selena and I met, I'd been attending AA meetings for about 2.5 years, and I was still a dry drunk. I was still holding onto my resentments like my life depended on it. And working with her is what helped me break the resentments. But AA taught me that that's what was going wrong. Selena, I don't want to neglect you. I want to bring you into the conversation here. Did you have any thoughts on what we're talking about so far?
Well, sorry if I'm gone sometimes. I'm coughing a lot, so that's why you notice that I'm gone. Well, Kathy and Dawn, it's very interesting. I do also couples therapy, and this is really interesting. My question to you both: how is it doing it together? Are you going on the same way most of the time, or is there any conflict between you both?
Oh, that's a fabulous question. I'll let Kath follow up on it, but we do it separately together. So what I mean by that is I usually go to only one meeting a week. I used to go to like 7 or 8, but I work in the Al-Anon office here, so I have a lot of feedback from a lot of people. So the Al-Anon office basically sells the literature to the groups, the different groups, but it also takes calls for people, mostly first timers, but a lot of times from people who just don't know who to turn to or what to do. And we try to get to a meeting, and sometimes we have a meeting right on the phone with them. We don't even realize it. We don't say, hey, let's have a meeting. It just, kind of explodes. When I say we do it separately, I just means that she goes her way as far as recovery goes. So I don't want to be in her recovery. I want to be in my recovery. And if I get into recovery, it just makes it, we go back to where we used to. So speaking for her a little bit, she can clean this up a little bit. She usually goes to 2 Zoom meetings and 2 live meetings. That seems to work for her. For me, what works is being in the office, talking to, I talk to a lot of people. I have 5 or 6 people that I talk to a lot, and it helps me with my Al-Anon to understand people and stuff. And it really helps me with my recovery to get that perspective I need. I wanted to go something that Jeff said about resentments real quick. That's one of the hardest parts for an Al-Anon person, because, it's like, what about me? I had to put up with, what I had to deal with, all the crap. Well, yeah, but your resentment and you're saying, oh, woe is me, is not gonna make you better. It's just not. It won't work. So we have to get rid of those resentments. And how do we do it? By being aware. Awareness is the key to that. I want to shut up and have Kath answer what she thinks of that question.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. That's really
Yeah. I chair 4 meetings a week, as Don said, or I do 4 meetings a week, and I chair all those meetings. I do the 2 in-person ones and then the Zoom ones on the weekends. The reason I do the ones on the weekends is because we have friends, or I have friends that live out of state, and they still want to connect with us Michiganders. So that's what we do. And even the people that live here in the area like to come on Sunday, Saturday and Sunday mornings as well. But, I would just remember coming into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was going to 2 meetings a day, morning and night. And, I got involved with, chairing the meetings, making coffee, even picking up people. I would pick up my one girlfriend that lived in Farmington, and then we go over to the Sober Living House over on 7 Mile and Farmington, and I didn't know how many people would be I would be picking up, and I don't have a big car, so if I could squeeze in 5 people and me, I would be doing pretty well. But that's what I did, and it's amazing how good that makes you feel to know that you're helping other people in some small shape or form. It doesn't have to be anything ginormous, but I can't explain to you. It's hard to explain to someone who's not in the program what this program is like. And we call what do we call ourselves? We're not Earth people. We're So
Never heard that one.
yeah, that's what we're not Earth people. So.
Not Earth people. Can I say one thing? Oh, go ahead, Captain.
Sure.
I was going to say one thing about the how do I want to say this? I want to say this right. The thing about Al-Anon and AA that you don't realize, and we always say, well, you want to be a better person, but you don't realize is the benefits. My friend Michelle's in the meeting here, we've become great friends through Al-Anon. That's how we met. The people that I sponsor, I consider my friends. My sponsor, I consider my friends. That doesn't mean we're in their lives every day. It just simply means that we have somebody to turn to, and those are the benefits of these groups in recovery. I always say, and I think Kath would say this too, I never tell people what alcoholism did to me. I tell it what it did for me, and I truly, sincerely mean that. I didn't invent that saying. I believe Lois, who is one of the co-founders of Al-Anon, said that, but I believe it with my whole heart.
Yeah, and Bill and Lois, they're amazing. They were amazing. We were thinking, even I have to go back a little bit here. when the pandemic hit, I thought, what in the world am I going to do? So anyway, I got hooked on this big book study that comes out of the Bronx, New York. And there were like, I got on there and I thought, holy cow. And there was like 200 to 300 people on this Zoom meeting. And they were from all over the world. I mean, you name it, we had a guy from Vietnam, one from Australia, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, all over the place. And we went, as we were going through the big book, it really opened up my eyes to realize that, there's so much to learn. And I learned so much just from listening to other people from all over the world that, no matter how we speak or if we don't understand language, we're still on the same wavelength, that we are recovering one day at a time. And going back to resentments, resentments for us alcoholics is the number one offender, and for us alcoholics, to drink is to die. And as I always tell my peeps at the meetings, I sure as hell don't want to die now. But that wasn't always the case. I thought maybe the world would be better off without me. But now, obviously, my thought process has changed, and I know that, for some reason, I wake up every morning, and I guess that just means to me that I have more work to do, even at my late stage of my life. And like my girlfriend says, we're all on the back nine. So, and we want to get to the 18th hole, but we don't go to the 19th hole just yet. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at today. So
That's very interesting, Kathy and Don. It's you are here together, busy doing your recovery, but doing your own things, and that is really very important. As what Don mentioned a while ago, taking care of himself, and Kathy is also taking care of herself, and then in separate ways. Is that correct? And that is really very important, because in recovery, the transformation or whatever you call it, when you want to change something, you have to focus on yourself, and you both are really doing it great. So good luck to that, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And which brings me to a couple more points that I wanted to cover. You both know from experience that many people in recovery do not have the advantage of, a couple being in recovery. It's one or the other. And it's on both sides of the fence. It could be in Al-Anon, it could be in AA or NA or any of the other, substance-related fellowships. And I mean, from my perspective, that makes it really hard on a relationship when one of the people is actively still engaged in their addiction. So, I mean, what's your perspective on that? I'm sure you've both seen a lot of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Go
go
I
ahead,
have a
Kat.
friend,
Go ahead.
her husband, she's been in recovery for quite a while, and her husband is an alcoholic, and she's talked to him about it, and she's, made suggestions, but, obviously she realizes that there's nothing that she can do about it. It's up to him whether he wants to seek recovery or not. And then there's other people that I know that their husbands or wives or whatever it is, they don't care whether they're sober or not. They just, that's where their situation is. And I found that really interesting. It's like, you're not supporting you don't really care about supporting your spouse in recovery, whether they're drunk or sober, and I found that really interesting when someone told me that once, that, my husband or spouse doesn't really care and not interested in doing any kind of recovery themselves, because obviously they don't think that they have a problem. But it is interesting to come across people like that. But my one girlfriend, she does the best she can. Sometimes her husband is good, and sometimes he's not. But she just has to realize that she has to focus on her recovery, and she can't try to make him or do something that he needs to be fully, he needs to commit and surrender to the fact that he has a problem, and the only way he can fix that problem, or not fix it, arrest it, is to take the time to go to a meeting, talk to somebody that's in the program, and share what's going on in their lives. But anyway, it is interesting, and Don and I are probably one of the few people, few couples that we know of that are both in recovery. So.
Yeah. Did you want to ask something? I can comment on that, because
Sure.
I do the same thing on the side of the street. Young ladies and young people, and even older people. When it's just them, it's going to be hard to recover, because, and not for them to recover, but having a relationship in recovery, I guess, is the best, because the other person is in denial, whoever it is. It's really, it can be difficult for us, because we're sitting there with people who think sort of like we do, and we don't hear the other side of the story too much. But it's heartbreaking to me that you would commit yourself to a marriage and then you wouldn't work on it. Because I think, and I don't say that to the person that's trying to work on it, or trying to get sober, or the person who doesn't understand their drinking. I'm just saying that it's heartbreaking that they both can't do it. Not because they're bad people or anything. It's just that they can't find a way to take a look at themselves, because that's what the program actually, both programs actually do. Quit lying. Take a hard look at yourself. Don't blame yourself for everything, but you gotta look in the mirror, and we don't want to talk about the steps too deeply, but you got to do that inventory of yourself. If you can do it on a daily basis, you're really going to get well. What did I do today that upset the apple cart, or what did I do today that was good? So you can find some balance in there. But basically, going back to the question is, we just wanted to. And I think if you want to, you'll find a way. And then you find this roadmap called Al-Anon or AA, and oh my God, it works, but you got to be willing, you got to be, got to take that first step. And sometimes it's very difficult. I don't want to judge people when they don't, but the idea is that even if, this is what I wanted to say in the beginning, even if it's just you, like Kath said, even if it's just you, you can have a better life. And then you can get your mind clear and realize, do I not want this marriage, or do I not want this relationship, or do I want to work on it? But you got to get your mind clear, which means, how do I want to say this? You just have to clear your head and say, you know what, maybe I have some stinking thinking here, and I've got to rethink these things. And maybe if I hear what other people did or what other people said, I can get to where I need to be.
Well, so much is hidden right in the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
A lot of life has to do with understanding what you have power over and what you don't. And we're really powerless over so many things, but because we have this great capacity for logic, we think we can control things that we can't. And the real sickness of addiction is not the substance or the person. It doesn't matter. Your disease will mutate. The real sickness of addiction is overthinking, is obsession, and ultimately the core cause of it is trauma. And when we're going through the inventory process, that's what we're doing, is basically healing our traumas so that we can move on with life. Because without the inventory work, we're stuck. We're stuck. And so many people are in denial. And denial is a very sincere state of mind. We sincerely don't see a problem with what we're doing. And I say that being somebody who was an alcoholic, and I was able to admit that I was an alcoholic starting in 1989, but I didn't see that it was unmanageable until August 18th of 2019. The whole time, up until I hit bottom, I genuinely thought my alcoholism was manageable. And so that's what that first step is really all about. I have a problem and I can't handle it on my own. So now, interestingly enough, you're Don is my sponsor. I have a sponsee with me. Um, to me, this is all about that 12-step awakening. Once you find something that really works for you, then you kind of feel compelled to share it with other people. And both of you guys are pretty deeply involved in service work, right?
Yeah. Did you want to answer that, Ken?
Yeah, I think, one thing I want to back up on is that, I used to, my thought process is if you're an alcoholic or addict or both, how could you possibly choose that over your family or whatever the situation is? But I think until you actually become that alcoholic or addict, or in my case, it was both, you don't understand what that person is going through. So I have a better understanding of, I've gained a better understanding of what it's like to be an alcoholic addict, because I unfortunately, my brother died of alcoholism. He gave away his family. He destroyed his marriage. And I always, I was always very critical of him. And how could you possibly do something like that? But now, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make my amends with him, when he was alive. But now I understand what it means to be an alcoholic addict. If you don't know what that means, if you're not addicted to something like I was, and wanting that on a daily basis and trying to figure out how you're going to get it on a daily basis, and to make sure you had enough on a daily basis, that was my focus. I was a very focused person and continue to be a focused person. So that's what I focused on, morning, noon, and night. Was how was I going to make sure I had what I had to get me through the night, and then start over with the process of the next day. But anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that because it's so funny, because see, on the other side of the street, we're addicted to codependency, right? If we can control these situations, we're safe, right? And that's based on fear. We want to control everything so we can put it in a little box, and then our fears and anxieties will be controlled, right? But they're not. You can't. And that's the thing you learn first of all when you get into Al-Anon or AA. You can't control the circumstances of anything except yourself. Certainly you can have views, you can set boundaries, but you can't really control it. If you set a boundary, and me and Kath like to set boundaries that are for both of us, because it just so happens that it can work that way for us. It doesn't always work with everybody else. But once you start setting boundaries on yourself, and the problems, the problems become clearer with boundaries. So you cannot set boundaries if you're still addicted to the same crap you used to be. Oh, Kath, you can't spend X amount of dollars without telling me, but I can do whatever I want. Well, that doesn't make sense to me. That's not going to make and the reason I'm going to do whatever I want, because you did that for so many years. You just did whatever you want. You didn't consider me. Well, you're not going to get better. You have to understand that not only were they addicted, but addiction is a sickness. And so then what am I addicted to? Codependency, resentments, anger, fear. So I got to work on all those. And once I start working on all, I don't have time to control everybody else. I got to work on myself. I don't have time to wonder what Peter and Paul are doing. I've got to take care of myself. Now, if Peter and Paul happens to call me and say, how you doing? I might say, well, this is really a rough day, or this is a great day. How you doing? And then we can exchange ideas and stuff without burying the people that we think caused our problem, because they did. It's usually the guy in the mirror 99% of the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. You guys both touched on that obsession factor in addiction, and I'm on both sides of the fence. I'm severely codependent, and I'm definitely an alcoholic and a drug addict. And it's true. When I was actively in my alcoholism, I was thinking about, where am I going to pick it up? How much am I going to get? How much am I going to drink tonight? Should I get 2 bottles? Because that last time I drank a whole bottle and it didn't seem to be quite enough. And then when I'm not drinking, I'm obsessing about other people. What are they doing? What are they thinking about me? Did that thing I say upset them? And it's like I just go from one obsession to the other until I had enough recovery where I realized, wait a second, I don't need to obsess about anything. I can just be more present and live life on life's terms as it happens. And if I catch myself obsessing about something, then I need to apply something that I learned in recovery. Again, we're referring back to when Celia and I hooked up, I was obsessing about my resentments. I'd wake up every morning wanting to kill people. It was horrible. It was just, I was living in a state of rage. And she put together these custom guided meditations for me. And then we did one together, and they're all targeting my anger issues. And slowly, through her voice and guidance, I was given permission to let go of my anger. And that's what it took for me. So, one of the points of this show, I hope we got another guest. One of the points of this show is just trying to explain to the general public there's a lot of different paths of recovery, but ultimately they all lead you to higher levels of acceptance. So I'm just going to open it up now. We've got several people here. Would anybody else besides Kathy, Don, and me care to talk? Any questions? No, you're just going to let us carry the whole ball? Okay.
That's okay. What do we say in our meetings? You don't have to share.
Yeah. It's interesting. There was a lot of that in Al-Anon and hardly any of it in AA. In AA, people love to talk. I get occasionally somebody who just sits in the back, but two very different programs, and I get different things out of both of them.
No, I'll be happy to talk, Jeff, if you don't mind.
All right.
I'm David.
Hey,
I'm
Dave.
David. I'm a grateful alcoholic, and yes, Jeff is my sponsor. We've been together coming up on 3 years. We think right around December, January of 2021 into 2022. Not exactly sure, but he calls my wife and I probably the only successful codependent couple that he's met. And it's not a joke because I have firmly bought into, for lack of a better phrase, the fact that traumas define my behavior today. And the more that I have dived into things that happened in my adolescence and early 20s, define why I behave the way I do now, having just turned 48 this year, and I'm just over 3.5 years sober. And I'm still, we were talking at the meeting this morning about this exact situation and how mentally I'm 20 years behind my age in maturity, in development spiritually, and the kind of person I am. In a lot of ways, I'm still the immature 28-year-old who works at a restaurant who's trying to get out and catch last call. Obviously, I'm not drinking anymore, but my brain processes things a lot of ways prior to when the addiction totally took over my life, and prior to when I had to make sure I had enough for the morning so that I could have it with my coffee, so I could stabilize my situation for the day. Which is very factual. And my wife has a lot of trauma. She's adopted. Her biological parents were both addicts, so she has a lot of trauma herself that she works through. And just in the last year and a half, getting engaged, getting married, and starting our life together, we've worked a lot on it. And the biggest thing that we're still trying to get through to each other is to give each other grace. We have to be more patient with each other, knowing that we both have, she's not an addict, but she knows if she were to pick up, she would become one. So she never did because of her biological parents. So we don't always remember to pardon each other sometimes because we get too wrapped up in our own trauma, our own mistakes, our own situations. And that's really where her and I are really trying to grow. And we have. It's like you said, Kathy, it's progress, not perfection. I'm never going to be a perfect husband or a perfect man or a perfect father or a perfect alcoholic or a perfect person in recovery. But as long as I can continue to gain tools, listen in meetings, listen to the two of you, it's great to meet you, and listen to your story, and get recovery related videos to watch and not just stupid stuff that will improve me as a person and improve my program, I'm doing okay. And that's the other thing I have to remember. I have to remember I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm still going to act a fool at times. I still am a little sarcastic at times, and that's okay because I'm better than I was yesterday, and hopefully I'll be better than I was tomorrow. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I just appreciate both of you, and I appreciate you guys and being able to listen to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a process for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave brings up some important points. Selena is a trauma specialist, and we've had conversations in the past. A lot of what she deals with her clients is childhood traumas, because as humans, we tend to just breeze over those, just like suck it up, shake it off, get back to work, and bury that stuff. And unfortunately, those childhood traumas are really what mold us, and all the troubles that we're having in modern times are deeply rooted in the childhood stuff. So it's important to go back and investigate that, and unfortunately dig it up and feel the feelings and talk about what happened. And there's lots of different types of trauma. Trauma doesn't need to be like you witnessed or experienced horrible things. It could be something as simple as you're very intelligent in music, but your parents are more intellectual and they don't believe in music, and so your natural abilities get neglected. That could be very traumatic for somebody, having a lot of passion and natural ability for music, and then having it stifled because there's a mismatch in parenting. So I think people misunderstand the nature of trauma a lot and don't understand that it's really any moment in your life that has the emotional signature of shame.
Can I comment on that for just a second? I think that's really a really, really great point. I know for Kathy's recovery, she had to go back. She had to go way back and figure out some of these events in her life that caused her to be so protective of herself, and then so maybe punishment of herself, and that's where the addiction started. I'm not saying that very well, but what I was trying to say is that is another thing that the partner can really help with by going to Al-Anon or whatever it is they're dealing with, because they have to understand that Kathy told me some of the trauma that she went through, and I was very defensive for her, and I felt bad. And I blamed it on others, as she probably did. She can talk to this better than I can. But I had to understand that, I had to understand it better. I mean, I had to really realize that she was willing to dig deep in there. And if I didn't stop my codependency and stuff, then I was just piling on to her. I was the enemy again. And I don't want to speak for her, but I kind of think that's where her thinking. If you're not helping me, you're hurting me. And why should I share this with you? So now she goes to the AA meetings and she gets to share with people who've experienced what she has. So I go to the AA meeting and I get to share my controllings, my fears, my anxieties, my resentments. And that's kind of how it works. And so if we don't get rid of these childhood traumas, or at least talk about stuff. So we begin with just saying, I'm PO'd at my wife, I don't know what to do. And then we start digging deeper and finally realize that this stuff that we haven't dealt with, whether it's on the AA side or the Al-Anon side. And once we start dealing with that, we can approach things more clearly and be more of an adult about it, because it happened, but it happened. It's not there anymore. How can I work on that to dismiss it from my life and make it the past? Because we can't go back and fix it. So we need to stay in the present, which simply to me means that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It happened. Sure, I wish it didn't. When I say it doesn't matter, it matters on our trip to being healthier, but it's not something that we want to hold on to and make that the center of our life. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Is that kind of what I wanted to say?
Talking about things that happened in your life, and I remember something very unpleasant happened in my life when I was a young kid, and unfortunately, I didn't say anything to anybody because I didn't think they would believe me. So I basically blocked it out for many, many years.
Right.
And then the funny thing is that one day I was sitting watching something on TV, and they were talking about something that had happened to someone, and it popped into my mind, and I thought, "Holy crap!" I had totally forgotten about that. But another thing is that when my brother passed away, I had broken off all ties with my family, and it had been years and years and years because of the fact that I felt that my sanity was more important than being in contact with them. So it was many, many years of not being in contact with anybody. And so when my brother died, and I got the call that he had passed away, and that we were going to have to go to say our goodbyes, I thought that's the last thing I want to do. Whatever I have to do, God, please keep me from doing this. In fact, when we were on the road to where we needed to go, Don had an episode with his heart, and when we went to the emergency room, and I thought, oh, thank you, God. You gave me something. We can get back home. I don't have to go forward. And anyway, obviously it didn't turn out that way. And so, I was able to reconnect with my family, and they were all very loving and kind, and there was no resentment as to why I hadn't kept in contact with all of them. But now I have a relationship of sorts. I am, closer with my sister. I was very, I liked to, I call it bullying. I used to like to bully her and make her second guess herself. And I stopped doing that a few years back. I decided, what good is this going to do me to make her feel bad about herself and make me feel good? So I stopped it. I turned it around. So now I have a relationship of sorts. It's she doesn't know my life. I don't know what's her life is all about, but at least we can connect on some level. And be friends, I guess, for lack of a better word, two sisters having to connect with each other. But what happened was that she had had two abusive marriages, and then a few years ago, I found out through my nephew that she was getting married, and because he had said to me, he says, well, Kathy said, did you get the invitation to the wedding? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, your sister. And I said, no, I didn't get any invitation. He thought I was kidding. And I said, no, I didn't get any invitation. So anyway, it turns out she was going to get married for the third time. And what killed me was that this person that she was marrying was like 20 years younger than she was. And I thought, holy shit, what's happening here? But anyway, so, she went through, she's happier now than she's ever been before. The person that she married is totally different from the other two abusive people that she was involved with. And she's gained her confidence as a person. I encourage her to do things, does she follow my advice? No, probably not. I'm sure she doesn't. She might say, okay, I'll think about that, but in all actuality, I'm not the kind of person that, I give great advice, but I don't take my own. So I don't know if anybody else does that. But anyway, so, it's funny, have a different, something comes over you and you change your thinking, because I think that's what I had to do is I had to change my thinking, and that's hard. Was hard for me because I thought, my way was the best way, and why would I want to change my thinking? And I realized that that wasn't the best way to go. But anyway, Alcoholics Anonymous has done more for me than I ever thought anything could do in my life. So,
Yeah.
and so I do the best I can on a daily basis. I fall short, I'm sure I do. But at least I can get up in the morning and try to do a better job the next day. So anyway.
Thanks, Kath.
Great, thank you. So, yeah, I was thinking about the inventory stuff, and we're going through inventory work, and we're basically sharing our traumas with other people, and it's critical that we're sharing them with people that we feel safe with.
Yeah.
I went through a certain kind of inventory with Don, and then I went through other inventory work with Selena, and then I've got an AA sponsor who I did some inventory work with. And then I had to go and get somebody who wasn't even in recovery, somebody who just had a lot of the same kind of traumas that I had, and work through a lot of stuff with him, a Facebook friend. And one of the other things I wanted to impress people with is, you don't have to do your entire inventory with one person. It's great if you can, but if you're holding back, that doesn't mean hold back forever. It means hold back until you find somebody you feel comfortable sharing that with and still work through it somehow. Hell, I had to find a friend from high school to do some of my inventory work with. The last guy I hung out with before I committed an armed robbery, and he was one of my criminal friends, and he got straight. He went straight and stayed out of trouble after he got out of high school, and I didn't. I had to learn the hard way. But I tracked him down, and I told him some of the things that I did when I was drinking, because I was just so ashamed of myself. I didn't think anybody would understand except somebody that, I grew up with. And, it helped. It helped a lot, and when I told him some of the things that I did when I was drinking, and, he's actively drinking himself these days, but he told me flat out, Jeff, you should never drink again. So I'm like, you're right. I have to agree with you on that. So, some people can handle their alcohol, and I'm one of the people that cannot. My behavior goes right down the tubes. So, Selena, please join us. What is on your mind from what we've shared so far?
Well, Jeff, as every episode, we always have a lot of values to take home. And some things are repeatedly the same, but that is just the point. I'm talking about inventory. This is a kind of platform that while listening to the stories of our guests, we learned a lot. And I'm also learning a lot. And this is, you can relate because we all have different stories, maybe different addictions, but we have the same goal and we have common reasons why we're here, because we have managed to choose the self narratives, the thoughts in our heads, because talking about trauma is a very wide topic.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can talk about it every episode, weeks long, and we could never stop there. It gets more interesting every time because we get to know more about the trauma, childhood trauma, or just an event, one kind event that changed your life. It could be also the childhood trauma, the situations in the family, in the house, and in the environment, being bullied at school. It plays a big role in your life as an adult. And that's why I am focusing on childhood trauma, because me myself experienced that as well, and it is easy for me to explain and to relate to my clients. And yeah, as I said, it is a very wide topic, and we can talk about it more next time. And all of us here, Yeah, thank you so much for sharing it. Our guests who I hope they come next time and share their stories as well. And David, thank you so much. And well, that's keep the awareness. Keep choosing which thought you take action, because that's what it's all about. And take care of yourself. That is the very important message. Always take care of yourself, especially during the process. Of course, we have our loved ones that we want to take care also, but when in recovery, in the process of transformation, we have to take care of ourselves first. We have to heal first before we can help others to heal. That's all. Thank you very much, everyone. God
Thanks,
bless you
Elena.
all.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a very valid point. And I guess that's one of the bigger points, Al-Anon, too, as it teaches us to focus on ourselves. Because if I'm sick, if I'm obsessing, if I've got my mind filled with negative thoughts, then I'm no good for any partner. For any partner, it's and so in whatever fellowship or whatever recovery process you use, the focus really needs to be on ourselves if we want to see things around us improve. And the good news is they do. When you focus on yourself, then the relationships around you also improve.
Yeah.
Yes, let me
Can
add
I add?
one more important thing.
Sure.
Yes, I have learned along my journey that every relationship we have with the people around us is just a reflection of the relationship we have with ourselves. So we have to remember that. And that's our takeaway for today.
Great, thank you. All
I
right.
just wanted to add one real quick thing because I know you want to close off. Process. Just think of process. Don't think of perfection. Don't think of end of the story. Just think of the process. Work it through at your own speed. That's the great thing about the roadmap of AA and Al-Anon. Work, and AA I know has to move a little faster. I get that, but in Al-Anon, work it at your own speed, but work it. Follow the process, and you'll get to where you need to be. And then once you get to where you think you want to be, you'll want more. You really will. That's how it works.
Agree.
Yeah, very good point. All right. Well, thank you to all of our guests. I appreciate the company. Another lovely show, and thank you to our guests, our special guests today, Kathy and Don H., a couple in recovery, and my co-host Selena. You guys have a blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks
Jeff.
for inviting us.
Thank
We
you.
enjoyed
Thank you, Jeff.
it.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you for coming, and thank
Great
you,
seeing
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.